A few weeks ago, I posted the first video on this channel talking about the GMA T50. Many liked it, many didn't. And among the criticisms, some said that Gordon Murray wasn't a genius, and that's fine. He's not my father, so I'm not going to defend a guy I don't even know like that. But now, gentlemen, I have brought someone who undeniably possesses a brilliant mind, or at the very least, a brilliant head. I present to you Christian von Koenigsegg. Are you going to say now that he doesn't have a brilliant mind? Jokes aside, I am a huge admirer of Christian's work, and soon enough, you will be too. Koenigsegg is one of the biggest supercar brands today. Their creations are so technological and out of the ordinary that they are sold as megacars. Maybe it's a bit of arrogance. Maybe. The fact is that they are truly impressive and unique machines. Today we will talk about the brand's cheapest car, which costs only $1.7 million. To start, because depending on the options, it goes over $2.5 million. But this price is justified. We are talking about the Koenigsegg Gemera, a hyper GT car with 4 seats and 2,300 horsepower, a product simply without competitors. The acronym GT comes from Grand Tour. The idea is to deliver the performance of a supercar with all the comfort and luxury that a millionaire would desire. The name Gemera is an acronym that combines GE, which in Swedish means to deliver, and Mera, which means more. In other words, the Gemera came to deliver more. More experience, more luxury, more excitement, more speed, more everything that only a brilliant mind could think of. The car features 8 cup holders, 4 of which are heated and 4 are cooled. Entertainment both in the front and back, as well as 2 wireless chargers, 1 in the front and 1 in the back. Tri-zone air conditioning, heated seats with electric adjustment, 11 speakers, and even Wi-Fi. And the cherry on top, 200 liters of luggage space, with 4 suitcases that perfectly fill that space. The luggage is provided by Koenigsegg itself, and not only is it customized according to the car's specifications, but it is also designed with the perfect size to fit in the trunks. But there's more. Unlike most GTs that offer rear seats only for double-leg amputees, a person 1.95 meters tall fits comfortably in the back without even needing to adjust the front seats, according to Koenigsegg. And then I ask you, is there a better car for a family? To fit all this, the car became gigantic, with almost 5 meters in length. And even though it has 4 seats, it only has 2 doors, which of course made them huge. Maybe you think it looks ugly and disproportionate, but in my opinion, and it matters a lot to you, it has its style. Especially because of the way they open with Koenigsegg's classic dihedral synchrohelix doors system, which makes the doors open upwards and sideways at the same time. This system has been present since the brand's first models, and it would be strange if they removed it in the Gemera or only kept it for the front doors. The only problem is that, when opened, the door is larger than a person and your garage will need to be a bit taller than usual. Anyway, I think no one would disagree if I said these doors are exotic. In fact, I'll go further. The whole car is exotic. And perhaps the least exotic part is the doors, because the engineering inside the powertrain is even more impressive. Strange as it may seem, when the Gemera was first introduced to the world, it was powered by a 2.0 engine with only 3 cylinders combined with 3 electric motors. Despite its small size, the combustion engine generated 600 horsepower and up to 600 Newton-meters of torque, hence the name TFG, which stands for Tiny Friendly Giant. The ace up the sleeve that allowed this level of result was the free valve system, which is quite different from other variable valve technologies. In common engines, the movement of the valves is controlled by a camshaft, where small lobes push the valves down. However, even though you can change the size of the cam lobes as the Yamaha VVA system does. For example, using only mechanical parts sounds almost prehistoric nowadays. It was then that Koenigsegg implemented electronic and hydraulic valve actuation, allowing the best of all scenarios to be explored. Whether opening the valves more or less, leaving them open for more or less time, advancing or delaying their actuation, and it is even possible for this actuation to occur independently for each one. The truth is that I could spend hours just talking about this system. But since we don't have all this time, I will show just one example of how this can be used. The TFG is powered by 2 turbos, and if you have studied a minimum of mathematics, you know that 3 is not divisible by 2, at least not without cutting a piston in half. Thus, the 2 turbos must work together. Taking advantage of the fact that each piston has 2 valves for gas escape, each one is connected to a turbo, but during low rotations, only one valve opens, filling only the smaller turbo. At high RPMs, both valves open, filling both turbos simultaneously. This means that the 400 Newton meters of torque are present from 1,700 revolutions per minute, potentially reaching up to 600 Newton meters along the way until it hits the maximum of 8,500 revolutions per minute. If the TFG were naturally aspirated, its power would drop to 300 horsepower, which is still impressive for a 2.0 inline 3-cylinder. All of this in an engine that can run on numerous different fuels and emits 15% to 20% fewer pollutants while driving and up to 60% less during the cold start, when the air-fuel mixture tends to be richer, that is, with more fuel. Thinking about lower emissions is essential in a world where governments want, at all costs, to eliminate internal combustion, even in those cars that have very few units and are hardly used. Regardless of whether this is right or wrong, brands must adapt, and this free valve system, despite the cost and reliability issues, seems promising to me. Legend has it that, on a cold winter's day, the engineers were bored with developing only the most powerful 3-cylinder 2.0 engine in the world and equipping it in the only 4-seater hypercar that exists. It was then that they thought, what if we put the 5.0 V8 with 1,500 horsepower from the Jesco in here? According to Koenigsegg, the story wasn't that romantic. In fact, a change in the original design made this insanity possible. Initially, the Gemera would be equipped with an electric motor on each rear wheel, making a delicious sandwich with the TFG, which would also be equipped in the rear, in series with an electric motor. However, all the rotation of this TFG assembly would be sent to the front axle, and there would be no gear ratio. It would only have a variation of that kind of torque converter used in the Regera. In other words, it would be Koenigsegg's first AWD car and the second without gears. At this initial stage, there would be 2 electric motors, the Quark, the smaller one, and the dark matter, the larger one. Quark is one of the smallest divisions of a particle and refers to the incredible weight-to-power ratio of this little monster, which weighs less than 30 kilograms and produces more than 330 horsepower. The scientific definition of dark matter, on the other hand, doesn't seem to have such a beautiful and poetic reference as the quark. So I won't bother trying to explain it, but you can just quickly look it up on YouTube. Regardless of the name of the engine, the dark matter is an evolution of the quark, weighing 39 kilograms but producing 800 horsepower and 1,250 Newton meters of torque. The secret behind these engines lies in what Koenigsegg calls axial flow, another acronym that combines axial with radial, which are 2 ways to guide the magnetic field through the engine. For today, just the information that battery-powered cars generally use axial flow and that a single dark matter has almost the power of the Tesla Model S Plaid with 3 motors is enough. In the initial project, the Gemera was supposed to have 3 electric motors, but in the final production version, the team decided to simplify everything to just 1 dark matter, allowing for a reduction in battery size and consequently weight, as well as increasing internal space. In the final production version, Koenigsegg also developed a new gearbox derived from the Lightspeed transmission that equips the Jesko and the CC850. This new 9-speed variant, LSTT or Lightspeed Turbolon transmission, was specially developed for the Gemera and allowed a reduction of 150 kilograms in the drivetrain and freed up space for the possibility of a 5.0 V8 instead of the TFG. Once again, I could go on explaining how brilliant this transmission is, but when I make a video about the Jesko, I'll explain it. Do you see why I love Koenigsegg? It's all so complex, brilliant, innovative technology. The final configuration, then, had a combustion engine connected in series with the LSTT, transmitting the rotation to both the rear and front wheels. On the front axle, dark matter was positioned, but it can also rotate the rear axle. In other words, two motors, even though they are in opposite positions, can rotate any axle at any time. In fact, they can rotate each wheel individually. That's because the car doesn't have a differential. It has 5 clutches, 1 in the engine and 1 in each wheel. The wheel clutches function as torque vectorizers, allowing more or less torque to be sent to that specific wheel, performing not only the function of torque vectorization, but also the function of the differential. This makes the Gemera the first and only electric car with torque, vectoring on all 4 wheels and just 1 electric motor. This car is as brilliant as it is confusing, and I love it. With the larger interior space, Koenigsegg simply adapted the Jesko's engine to a hot V8, that is, moved the turbos between the piston blocks, creating the hot V. In this configuration, the Gemera would have 800 horsepower from the dark matter, combined with 1,500 horsepower from the hot V, totaling 2,300 horsepower. Initially, this would be an optional $400,000. Yes, an optional feature costing just $400,000. However, the demand was so great that the construction of a few TFGs would be practically unfeasible, and the brand managed to convince the few customers who had opted for the 3-cylinder to switch to the V8. Thus, the version with the TFG was discontinued, and there died one of the most brilliant engines in history and, without a doubt, the best 3-cylinder in the world. But what about you? If you had $2 million in your account, would you buy a Gemera? Regardless of the answer, subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video.